Another thing, Helen, has anyone ever told you that the U.S. military, they teach you this at Georgetown, the U.S. military needs the AI because we need autonomous weapons so we don't have to send our sons and
our
your
daughter.
sons and everyone's sons to go pull fucking triggers because we don't have to do that anymore. We have AI. We don't want... Who's going to fight these fucking wars, Helen? Who's going to fight the Chinese, Helen? If you, with your fucking regulations, going to win the war? You fucking kidding me? These people need to sit the fuck down. Hi, everybody. This is John from Real Veteran News, here with my good and old friend, Andre Batinas. That's how you say it, right?
Batinas. Either works. That works. Yeah. How you guys doing?
Got a cool last name. U.S. Army veteran. Got a cool Army t-shirt on for the show today. First time on the show. You know, a lot of my other friends have been on the show. First time on the show. So you want to introduce yourself, Andre?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Andre Batinas, as John stated. I am an Army veteran. Let's see, I served under the Clinton administration, so that would be the mid to late 90s. I was a 13 Bravo field artillery. Most of my time was spent in doing reconnaissance for the guns before they come in, before I was actually on the guns, shooting them, driving them, whatever else. But that was my time there. After the military, I started a career in IT, which I've been doing for about almost 20 years now. I'm currently a systems engineer, also a cybersecurity analyst. On top of that, I'm a graduate of Georgetown University with a degree in international affairs with a concentration in global security policy. That pretty much sums it up.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for joining, and thank you for, putting the time in and being a good friend and supporting and everything. So do you want to spend a little bit talking about your ideological bent really quick so people know where you're coming from?
As far as the political system goes, I go both ways. So sometimes I'm a Democrat, sometimes I'm a Republican, but ultimately I do believe in a strong American military presence. As far as some of these things that we're going to be talking about too, especially with AI and what it's doing, I'm kind of in the middle with that as well. I believe in the advancement of it and how it could help humanity, especially Americans, but we're still in the infancy of the whole thing. So there's a lot of trial and error that's going to be coming about with the way that AI is growing. Apart from that, I'm pretty even keel kind of individual, like I said, for the most part, down the center line here when it comes to my political and social views.
Cool. Great. For the show today, I am wearing a shirt that is a little bit big for me. It was my father's. He died recently. So we had the Bill Koenig energy going on. And then also I'm sitting down. I usually like stand up, give that Ranger energy, but my knee is super fucked up. So I'm sitting down and I'm just not going to do it today. Hopefully it doesn't ruin the show. But yeah, we'll get started here. First article is about the big fiasco, I guess happened last weekend, where the OpenAI board fired Sam Altman on Friday. And there was this whole drama thing. There was all this chaos behind the scenes. We can go through the whole timeline, but at the high level, Microsoft came in because they had just put $10 billion in to OpenAI and gave Sam cover. And then the essence of what happened here is that the actual AI engineers, the hotshots who make $800,000 a year doing this shit, 95% of them signed a paper saying that they were going to quit unless they axed the whole board, put a new board in, and put Sam back in, because these AI engineers want to work for people who want to go fast. They don't want to work for people who want to go slow. You know what I mean? And Microsoft wants to make money. Obviously, they're a company. I don't know if they really care about going fast, this or that, whatever. They just want to have a good investment. They made a big investment, and they've obviously picked Sam, supportive Sam. So we can go through the details of how the dynamics of it went down, but basically Sam's back. I'm not going to go in like the total details of it because we can really dive into it. But Andre, when did you hear about it? What did you think?
Well, I heard about it like most people did last Friday when they ousted him from the board. And then there's the other half that essentially they're saying, hey, there's a lot of ethical issues surrounding this and the speed that what this is taking off at, especially things like ChatGPT. I guess it's a question between being commercialized way too quickly or slowing down to try to figure out some of the ethical questions behind OpenAI and the capabilities of what it can do. Okay. My opinion, I'm not surprised originally how most of the employees were going to exodus from the company unless bringing back Altman. I mean, that's his team. They're the ones that originally were on here from from its inception to where it's at now. So, I say bravo to them for doing what they needed to do to get Altman get back on as CEO. And as we know, I think officially Tuesday or Wednesday, he's been reinstated as CEO. So it's been almost a week, right? Because Friday of last week is when they released him. They let him go. But now, before a week, before Thanksgiving, he was already instated as CEO again. And I know they went through a couple of interim CEOs that the rest of the company, they weren't happy with that decision. And that's part of the threat of leaving the company if they didn't get Altman back. So they were successful in doing that. Now I know from reading a couple of different things that the challenge is still going to be to keep new board members happy with commercializing it, but at the same time doing, I guess, more research and trial and error to solve some of the potential ethical issues that might come about from pushing AI as quickly as it is.
All right. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, like you said, it was a fast turnaround. He was in and at back end. He was out in the back end within 4 days or so. And they have a new board. And this was, board level conflict and kind of a surprise. And it was just like a chaotic situation. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about how it started because there's obviously a conflict here, right? Like he obviously pissed them off. This is a 7-person board. Company was started as a nonprofit. So you essentially organizationally have this nonprofit. And then there's this company that was very successful for-profit subsidiary of that nonprofit that is controlled by the 7-person board of the nonprofit, which is not a typical corporate board, and where the shareholders and stuff would have more of a say. And so Microsoft had made this $10 billion investment, which is probably the biggest investment they ever made, honestly. And they were all in on this, and this has saved Microsoft. Like OpenAI and ChatGPT saved Microsoft, and Microsoft is actually now kind of like up there with Google because Google was like stomping the shit out of Microsoft for like the last 20 years. It was just a way better company, and Microsoft was just kind of going just because they have Windows always bringing in money and they work with the government a lot. But now, because of this big win on ChatGPT, so they want to protect this and they freaked out. So
exactly.
But this is a personality thing, right? And you talked about how it's like the accelerationists and then the doomers. People that think that AI is going to be bad or good and we should go fast or should go slow. I have noticed I've been watching this for several years more than AI has been all popular and everything. And I've been in the government around this and stuff too. And honestly, it is just my opinion that it's not even like a liberal conservative thing. I see it as like a gender bias thing where men typically want to drive forward and women and non-technological men kind of want to go slower. That's like kind of the split. It's not really because there's Republicans and Democrats on both sides, in my opinion. I've kind of like looked at it from all different. That's like my analysis of it. And what we have here essentially is this board, and it's like diversity. It's a modern board, whatever. It's diverse. Got a couple women on the board, a couple whatever on the board. Everyone's diverse. Everyone's happy. And so we have these 2 women, Helen Toner, who is like really the impetus of this. Like she essentially instigated this, and Tasha McCauley was with her. And then essentially the 2 of them convinced 2 other board members. That takes it to 4 to put him out. And then the other 3 probably voted with Sam. And I didn't do the analysis on that. But basically Helen, who is a relatively young woman, and she's not like an elder, super experienced woman. She's from Australia. She went to school in Australia, got a STEM degree. And then she went to Georgetown. Again, Georgetown. We both went to Georgetown. And so she went to Georgetown in security studies program, which is the best security studies like policy program in the world, objectively. But Georgetown is kind of like a government school. It's this weird situation. It's right next to the government. So yes, this is the best program in the world. And I'm sure she is very smart, but she's probably never written any serious code. And she might understand AI more than the average person, but she's obviously a doomer. And she's on this side where like most women. And so Helen wrote a paper, academic paper, where she specifically criticized OpenAI for kind of not paying enough mind to the AI responsibility thing, which all these lawyers and these bureaucrats and stuff are super hard for because they have nothing to do in here. Like AI is the most important thing in the world. Like what's a lawyer going to do? You've never written one line of code in your life. I'm going to talk about it all day long and try to make policies about it and regulate the fuck out of it. And all that entrepreneur and technology people are like, whoa, chill with that shit. But, we can't do anything about it because we're not powerful.
Yeah, and it stifles the growth of it too at the same time, right?
This is the conflict, right? So she writes this article. So Sam confronts her in an email, and then probably they had some sort of conversation as well. She's super pissed off at him. He's super pissed off at her. This relationship fractures after this conversation. His argument is that you are a board member and you are criticizing our company. We have a stock. I think they have a stock. I don't know. And, this is hurting our stock prices, hurting like our mission and all this stuff like that. If you have concerns, you should bring them up at the fucking board meeting. That's his argument. And then her argument is like, you're a piece of shit commercialist guy or whatever. And that, you're going to unleash this evil upon the world and whatever. There's going to be pestilence everywhere and whatever her fucking argument is. And she went back on him. And then she essentially outmaneuvered him politically.
Yeah.
And within that board context, she got
Right.
4. She's a smart woman. She knows how to count to 4 and she got it. And then Sam's out on Friday, obviously Friday, maybe. And it's like is it a holiday?
This was the week before the holiday.
Yeah, it's holiday. It's it's this typical thing. They try to do something for the holidays where the news ain't paying attention. But this is like one of the biggest most successful AI companies in the world. Everybody's paying attention to this, Helen.
I haven't turned on the news without hearing anything about OpenAI or read. You know what I mean?
Gossipy, like the secret boardroom thing. People, there's a fascination about this because Helen probably doesn't honestly know that much about Silicon Valley and the development of American tech. She's not from America.
Yeah, she's Australian.
She went to Georgetown. Like, congratulations. But like, she probably doesn't know Silicon Valley and like these legendary stories of these tech CEO ousters. Obviously, Steve Jobs and stuff like that. These are like legends in America, and like the idea that this hotshot successful guy is just going to get swapped out on a Friday after he created this billion dollar business. Like, are you kidding me? Is this like she had no idea about the PR ramifications of what she did, even though she was successful in convincing these people. And so obviously, like we talked about, Microsoft came in, offered to hire everyone. I already gave Sam a job. It was like, we're going to create a new research institute for you. We're just like going to rebuild everything. What really cut to the bone was these AI engineers I mentioned, the hotshots, all men, all want to work for Sam or someone like Sam. They do not want to work for Helen. They're like, we're fucking out. And then that's like checkmate, Helen. Then it's like the entire board gets fired except for one holdover who probably voted with Sam or was like cool or whatever. And they just packed it with all men. So they got rid of all the women. You got 7 men, 7 people ready to go, probably full speed, I would assume. And that's like kind of the end of it. I have some quotes from this. There's a person, and these people like obviously are conflicting, but their characterizations of Ms. Toner are fanatic zealot, delusions of grandeur, and never had a job in her life. Okay. So, I mean, this is not, she might be the smartest person in the world. She might have some good points. She might be able to write a good paper.
This is Helen, right?
Helen Toner. She might be able to write a good paper and everything like that, but she's not coming from a position of authority to do something like this. You know what I'm saying? This is like Matt Gaetz, like in the US Congress when Matt Gaetz is like taking out the Speaker of the House, like this little like weasel guy, and he's like disrupting the whole government. That's Helen. Helen is Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, I agree with you there on certain points that you were mentioning about Helen. I mean, for an example, I know that she came out publicly to openly criticize some of OpenAI's safety practices prior to the whole conversation that led to Altman's exodus, as well as, yes, her background. I don't think, or I agree with you that she's not in the right place of her background to be able to make those kinds of decisions or even try to based on, again, she's not a coder, right? She can't see.
Well, apparently she's a fanatic zealot.
Okay.
So this is the director of strategy at Georgetown CSET, which is a very elite technology research institution.
Center for Security and Emerging,
And she's a fanatic zealot. That's who y'all are hiring, fanatic zealots with delusions of grandeur. I mean...
Don't get me started on Georgetown. Yeah, exactly.
Very, very worrisome. She did an article for Georgetown in January 2022, the Journal of Political Risk, titled The Risks of AI, an interview with Georgetown's Helen Toner. I can't figure out when she was there. She was probably there like roughly the same time we were there.
Yeah, or just shortly after. Shortly after. I left in 2017 and graduated 2015. Either way, I think it was 16, but yeah. And I know that she's written an article about the existential threats to humanity pertaining to runaway AI, right? And I think that is one of the strong points that she keeps bringing up is the potential growth of AI. And again, it's in its infancy now, so there's no telling. I'm of the thought that a lot of people like herself that are worried about quote unquote existential threats of runaway AI and because of its potential for growth. I mean, it's learning already. We're AIs, things like ChatGPT, they're in its infancy now. And we can see the growth in all of the things and how it's affecting day-to-day things that we do now. There should be safeguards perhaps put into effect, like for an example, maybe not give AI the keys to the kingdom when it comes to, say, incorporating it into like government systems, government networks, etc. It's things like that. maybe don't do that just yet. Maybe wait for it to develop a little bit more. But at the same time, I don't know. This whole Skynet fear.
Oh, I think we've waited plenty of time, government. Okay, we don't need to wait anymore.
And I don't think this fear of this Skynet thing happening, that's more science fiction than I think reality, you know?
If they've taken this much fucking time and they can't figure out how to make it safe, like we could have been doing this stuff in 2016 or earlier. People didn't even, in the government and DOD, didn't even know what the fuck AI was 5 years ago at all.
Yeah.
Any of them. We could have started back then. I mean, they've diddle-dallied and bullshitted so fucking much. Another thing, Helen, has anyone ever told you that the U.S. military, they teach you this at Georgetown, the U.S. military needs the AI because we need autonomous weapons so we don't have to send our sons and your sons and everyone's sons to go pull fucking triggers because we don't have to do that anymore. We have AI. We don't want... Who's going to fight these fucking wars, Helen? Who's going to fight the Chinese, Helen? If you, with your fucking regulations, going to win the war? You fucking kidding me? These people need to sit the fuck down.
I think the face of war is permanently changing to a place that it's not going to be like what we are used to seeing. For example, we had trench warfare, right? World War I, World War II era. Vietnam was jungle combat. We've evolved to the war on terrorism, to more desert effective units that we have now. But now, I mean, some might argue that we're already in the beginning stages of World War III. The only difference is for global powers such as ourselves, I am of the school that I don't think wars are going to be fought unless we have to initially invade for some reason like Iraq and Afghanistan or somebody comes here. I think wars, at least for the next 10, 15 years or so, are going to be fought the way that they're fighting now. The way that U.S. is fighting wars, they're trade embargoes, trade sanctions, proxy wars. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now in the Ukraine. I mean, I know that's not a topic for today, but that is my belief. You know what I mean? So I don't think, I mean, we're still sending troops, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I see it being lessened over time. I think we're going to be fighting more proxy wars than I think ourselves. But at the same time, for the times that we do have to send our sons, then yeah, an autonomous combat mechanism would be much better than sending us to die, right?
Let's ask Helen. Helen, do they teach about aircraft carriers at Georgetown? An aircraft carrier has thousands of young Americans that work and live and take shits on it and everything. And that's where they live their lives. And they go out into the ocean. In the 1980s and 90s, there'd be 5,000 of them on an aircraft carrier. With automation and all the new aircraft carrier technologies, we're looking at 3,000. The next generation, maybe to be 1,000. Maybe we don't even have aircraft carriers. But if one of these fucking aircraft carriers gets sunk, it's going to be a lot better burying 3,000 than 5,000. Okay? And 1,000 is going to be a lot better than 3,000. This is math.
And so forth.
We need this shit, and it's not a fucking policy paper for you to just be bullshitting about and be taking activist positions in a board in one of the biggest companies doing this shit in the world.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is one of those stories that I'm going to be following closely because just because he's reinstated as CEO, I mean, there's still a little bit of a pressure.
Oh, it's over. I think it's over. They locked this up. This company is full steam ahead, probably even faster than it was before. So Helen's plan actually backfired. So it was a stupid plan, and it's just an ignorant position to begin with. Our country needs the AI. We need self-driving vehicles. You know how many people get killed in these auto accidents out there every single year? We need self-driving vehicles.
The statistics are crazy. Yeah.
We need this stuff. And all these people want to slow all this shit down so they can do a little lawsuit or whatever, make a little bit of cash for themselves. And we're going to lose everything to China because they're not going to stop for anything. We're just getting dragged down by all these bureaucrats and lawyers and shit. Next topic of interest is we've heard the rumors about Putin being possibly dead, or maybe he had health problems. Maybe he's not dead, but he's like not in good shape. And we've seen him in the past recently. He doesn't look great all the time. I just saw this interesting article where these Japanese researchers use facial recognition on different videos of him, and they analyzed and found 2 different body doubles that they think have a good probability that they are not actually Vladimir Putin, even though they probably had plastic surgery in order to resemble him more. But you can only get so far with that, especially against a computer. Like these computers you probably need a computer to do your plastic surgery if you really wanted to fool it.
Yeah, you believe that? What do you think?
Who knows? It's impossible to really know what's going on inside Russia with this. Maybe the CIA or somebody knows. But basically,
somebody knows.
He's got this lover. Her name's Alina Kabeva.
Yeah.
Who this guy describes as full of sex. 40 years
Right.
old now,
But
and she's had a
that's
couple
awesome.
kids with him.
No, I'm saying that's awesome. Putin's description of this 40-year-old woman, and she's not bad looking.
No, somebody who's criticizing them, you know what I mean? But some anti-Putin, but I mean, that's like a characterization that was made. I don't
Yeah.
know. I read it on the internet, and
Yeah. So it's got to be true.
yeah, so they're saying that she might be an unidentified source of rumors about his health and death and stuff like that. Or it might be that she is under house arrest now and she's got the lockdown because she put out these rumors and she's mad because maybe she's not as fit as she was before. He's not fucking her as much or something. So, you know, she's like, it's like a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. It's or like a sugar baby thing.
I read the opposite. I read that because, you know, Putin is still staying fit. Certain people are saying is that, you know, she's in her 40s now. I don't think currently practicing gymnastics the way that she used to. So maybe she's
like
starting to
2
get
kids.
let go a little bit. Yeah. So now Putin is like, you know what? I'm still riding around on horseback shirtless.
I don't think he's riding around on horseback at all. Probably,
Yeah.
well, maybe. I don't know. But he's not taking pictures.
But that's one of the things I read up on. But yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? A man of that stature and power, I mean, it's Putin, for Christ's sakes. If he thinks that his lover of 40 is starting to, you know, let herself go a little bit, then he had a couple of previous female close personal friends.
Oh, I'm sure he's got a lot of female close personal friends.
Yeah, but these are the only ones that we find out about, right?
I bet the CIA knows about all of them, but
I'm sure
you know,
they do too. If they didn't, they wouldn't be doing their job.
this could be disinformation. You know, he could be dead, and they're like, "Oh yeah, his baby put out rumors about him for X, Y, and Z reasons." And like, yeah, the reasons make sense. And you know, if you're making propaganda, you're doing disinformation. Like this is in the KGB manual. Is like you always start with like something that's sort of true, or at least looks kind of true. There has to be an element of truth. You can't just like invent something out of whole cloth and like disinform. You have to like manipulate something that is true or like fits with pre-existing notions. We can all imagine that. Like Putin's powerful. She was beautiful. She is beautiful, but she has gotten older. He probably is like, you know, dipping his wick someplace else. She's mad. She puts out this fake shit. It's fake shit. That's, you know what I mean? But maybe it's real or maybe it's partially real.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add to that, piggyback on that too, is that we don't know, right? This could be propaganda or it could be real. As far as I know, nobody can find her at the moment for questioning about this.
She's under house arrest. I mean, they know exactly
That's
where
what
she
I thought.
is.
Yeah, or that day she got sent to the salt mines to let everybody else know, hey, as
The
a
Summer
warning.
Palace.
Yeah, the Summer Palace salt mines. Yeah,
She got a
exactly.
cell phone though, you know what I mean? And she talks to people and she can like rumor stuff out if she wanted to, but maybe she had a friend visit her, like a girlfriend or whatever, and she was like, you know, and they're like, oh, cut that shit off.
Yeah.
You notice we haven't heard any more about this. That's
exactly.
there was the initial report, and then
There was the initial report, and now we can't find her for any kind of questioning or to see if there's any kind of truth behind it. You know what I mean? I read in this one separate article that, and I didn't know this before, but Putin's been described as Hitler-esque when it comes to how he makes his decisions on his lovers, right? Because we all know about Eva Braun and, you know, the suicide pact apparently that Hitler had with her. And so these past women of interest, aka potential lovers, they've all seemed to disappear at some point when Putin's done with them. And so that's kind of the concern now with Melina, where they're trying to find out, hey, how much truth is behind this? Is she on Putin's side and trying to spin up propaganda to keep people guessing, or is this the truth? Or is she doing this on her own because, you know, maybe she's a jilted lover? So again, salt mines.
well, he's the father of her kids, so
Right. Yeah.
But if she has to protect herself and her kids, if he goes down, she's in great danger. So she needs to be ready to protect herself. I mean, this is how women have done this since like the Roman times and before that. Think about the succession of these people. They have succession plans, I assume, or something like that. You know, but the thing is, I think the CIA and these people, like, even if they knew that Putin was dead, I don't think they'd tell us. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think they would either.
They wouldn't. And because one, they'd be afraid that they were getting it wrong and look stupid. And two, they're just not like really ready for it either. Like nobody's ready really for Putin to be on. Like they're also about ready to negotiate an end to the war. So both sides are just worn the fuck out. There's no men left. There's no men that can pull a trigger, basically. They're sending in like 40, 50, 60-year-olds in Ukraine. I mean, they lost everybody.
I know. There's a huge gap. Something similar is happening in China right now with their numbers. The gap between the men in power now versus the numbers of men that are growing up now, I think there's like a 30 to 40-year age difference, right? Between 60-year-olds and 20-year-olds. It's insane.
I think our age difference is worse than China's. Like the guys at the top of China, they're in their 60s, and ours are like in their 80s.
In the political party system, yes. I don't think that's because of a lack of men that age. I think it's a lack of men that age that are running for those positions.
The longer you've been alive, you're going to accumulate more money. You're going to have more friends, more political support, more people are going to know your name. So like inherently, you're going to be just more successful unless you have a scandal or something,
Right.
you know, as you get older and you just become more and more dominant. And unless you're a phenom like Obama or Trump, but like these established politicians that are like inching their way up and aren't like these phenoms, the older they get, the better. The older the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Yeah. I thought it was the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
You remember that movie?
Of course.
It's from Friday, right?
Poor mama. Yeah. Older the berry, the sweeter the juice.
I guess the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Yeah, well, yeah. She blacker than a motherfucker, too.
I ain't fucking with you. Watch out.
Yeah.
Blacker than a motherfucker too.
Yeah. Oh, she blacker than a motherfucker too. Yeah. Man, good shit. Anyway, so when did these rumors start circulating? I know it's been this year, and I want to say it was either right. When did Russia invade Ukraine? That was February 2022?
I'm not sure exactly, but it's, yeah, March, February, something like that.
Yeah, something along those lines. And again, if I'm not mistaken, it was either right before that or during that time when these rumors of Putin's health drastically declining started to resurface. What were those drastic ailments of his that were causing rapid decline in health? You know what I mean?
They're saying Parkinson's, and they're saying he had some sort of cancer that was treated. I mean, he has the best doctors he can get. I mean, I get that. But,
Sure.
you know, you get old, and, like, sometimes these things get you, you know?
Yeah.
There's big news this week where the military, and we've been talking about the replicator program, where they're trying to field massive amounts of UAV drones. Probably gonna have some more on that next week. I didn't put it in this one. I used to work around these people and stuff, and all of this, and I talked to a lot of people about this, and they were very, very not interested in having autonomous like kill weapons in the US military that officers didn't have some control over because they're control freaks. And they also don't understand AI. And when you don't understand something, there's no trust, right? Like if you're hanging off the edge of a mountain on a rock climbing harness and you don't understand how a harness or a D-ring or how a rope works or anything, you're going to be a little freaked the fuck out because you don't have any trust in the equipment. And like you don't know that it's going to properly function most of the time.
I haven't. You said D-rings. You just took me back to air assault. D-ring. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I missed that. I do miss that.
Gotta do like a 5-mile ruck march, get through that, right?
Oh my God, man. Tell me about it. Like, yeah, we should have a conversation on that one of these days. Like have a group kind of panel where we just go over old stories or whatever. Anyway, I digress.
Nobody wants to hear all that bullshit. Come on.
You never know.
DoD not interested in these autonomous weapons. Officers not interested. There's no businesses making them. None of that. Fully feasible. You know, a little bit of research here and there. China's probably going balls to the wall. And now, all of a sudden, they want to go replicator. All of a sudden, they want to buy 1 billion of these things. They want to buy as many fucking kill drones as they can get their fucking hand. They'll take all comers. Any direction. You got a drone, you can probably sell it to them. You know what I mean? They want as many as they can get. And now they want to change the strategy. They want to change the policy. They want to allow the military to start using these autonomous drones because they know it's necessary. Because with the EW threat, it's going to jam the GPS and a regular drone's just not going to work. They need these like loiter munitions, these munitions that can just kill with no risk. It was obvious we needed these. We needed these things years and years ago. And if we'd had them, you know, maybe Russia wouldn't even have invaded Ukraine, honestly, because we'd be so dominant in swarm drone technology, AI guided drones and all that. And I know DARPA has projects and blah, 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 blah. We can get into all the specifics of all these things in that. But the fact of the matter is we should have had these a long time ago. Don't have them. We're supposed to be having them now. At the same time, countries want to like ban or restrict the use of these and the development of these at the UN because obviously they want to constrain us and China and others too. But like China is going to make these motherfuckers. No one's stopping Chinese dudes from making these kill drones.
Not at all.
The only people stopping us from making them are these fucking bureaucrats and the fucking lawyers, all right? And the technology people need to get down to it and get these weapons out there, mass produced for a reasonable price, sustainably get the supply chain, get it all up and running so we can fight this war, or so we have the capability to prevent the war from happening because we don't look like chumps who can't get our shit together. Every kid in America's got a drone up under the Christmas tree, but the 7th Cavalry, whatever, doesn't have one that works or is good, or they don't have a good supply chain. It's a total fucking failure. There's no innovation here. And I'll tell you exactly why they're doing this about face. Remember Remember about face? We're going to need that. About face is because they got intel in China and they're like, oh shit, these people are going balls to the wall. But you know what? I fucking told you guys that years ago and you fired me. So yes, China is going balls to the wall and you just figured it out. And it's like, oh shit, what are we going to do? And you better fucking figure it out or you're going to be the people that fuck this country over and fuck the military over and filled up every graveyard in this country. We get killed by Chinese kill drones. All our kids. That'll be your fault. Drag ass motherfuckers. Jesus.
Well, you know what? We do. If Secretary of Defense Hicks, she's a proponent. She's trying to fight for this. From my understanding,
man. She's not a strategy person.
She's not, but at least she's one of them. Her, and from what I've read, the Air Force Secretary, they're the ones right now that are the strongest. They are trying to push this through more than anybody else, from what I've read. Right? They're saying, hey, listen, we can combat Chinese mass.
Someone told her to say that. She's just reading off a fucking note card or whatever her assistant provider. She's just repeating something.
Oh, you're talking about Hicks? That could be true, but at the same time, I don't see anybody else, cabinet members and all, that are talking about pushing this through or trying to make it happen. Those two are the ones that I've been hearing about the most that are actually trying to make that happen. Right now, from what I understand, the decision is it going to be completely 100% autonomous, or is it going to be autonomous with, say, human intervention?
100% autonomous weapons are what we need.
I get that, but that's the argument down the aisle right now. You know what I mean? But again, like I said, there's a couple of people that are pushing for that, as opposed the rest are just kind of sitting on their hands, not doing much about it at all. They don't know which way to lean. They don't know if they should go with it or not.
They're ignorant people making decisions. This is not an option. Kathleen Hicks apparently, she read about a PowerPoint slide, so she's on board. But for any of these people, you're not going fast enough. This is already happening, and it's not a question of if we do it or when we do it. We have to do it as fast as possible. AI-controlled kill drones have been deployed in Ukraine in October of this year. These things are on the battlefield. Our young people are going to be facing these weapons on every battlefield across the world because they will proliferate, and we need to have countermeasures against them. And the only way to beat an AI drone is going to be another AI drone. We need this shit, and they better get their fucking act together because they should have had this shit a long time ago, and nobody's taking accountability for it, of course. But we need this shit now.
You know what? That's an interesting point, and that's good. They're getting battle tested right now, right? Because we're sending our drones to the Ukraine to assist them. And so right now,
make their own shit.
We're gathering intel on how these things are actually used out on the field, right? So they're becoming battle tested autonomous weapons, or AI kill drones, as you put it. And I think with the more positive results that we can see with that, it will be able to change the minds of the skeptics on whether or not this is a good idea or not.
It's necessity. It is not an idea. It is the way the battlefield is there. We are there now. This is our now reality. Everybody thinks AI is some far off like fantasy or whatever. You're fucking.
Oh, no. It's now.
10 years or more. It's here. It's on the battlefield. There's no excuses. You have to protect the country. You have to build the AI. We have to get the weapons. The Congress people have to figure out what the fuck they're doing. We got to get these old dumbass generals out. Get some young people in there. Know what the fuck is going on. Get some strategy going on. I want to know who's responsible for this strategy because it's not Kathleen Hicks and it's not Secretary Kendall, Air Force dude.
Was that who? Yeah, Secretary Kendall. Yeah, thank you.
Somebody is coming up with this strategy, and I want to know who the fuck is coming up with it. I already know why, because the Chinese are fucking outracing you, and you fucking know it.
Yeah. I think with the more drone technology that we're using in combat zones like Ukraine or whatever else, it'll be able to provide the non-believers, or at least the ones that are slow to make their decision, with actual true tested data, right, on how they're actually working and helping. I think, like you said, it's only a matter of time, and yeah, it does need to be sped up. I'm just saying with the more of us using that in places like the Ukraine, I think it'll just speed it up faster for us to be able to use that kind of technology without having to go through any kind of bureaucratic red tape. The staging ground that they're using now with using autonomous drones in the Ukraine is going to help speed things up now to get rid of any kind of political red tape for in the future when we need to use them. They'll be able to look back and say, hey, we deployed all of these drones in Ukraine and look what they were able to do. They saved this many lives. They took out this many targets, et cetera, et cetera. So with more of these drones being battle tested and tried true on the battlefield, it's like, again, I think it'll be faster than most people realize because it's already being deployed. Again, if we could get more data on it, it'll push that timeline faster to what it is now, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, it should have already been used, right? Exactly. What if we could have used autonomous drones during Afghanistan? And you know what I mean? Like, think about the difference that could have made, especially in those mountainous regions over there. I mean, come on.
True. Talking about China's economy, we've been going through this period where Some people call it a decoupling, but we are still, a lot of businesses have decoupled and are looking to. We have permanent links that really can't be broken quickly in a lot of ways because we have been so tightly integrated with China over the last 20 years, rather successfully before the political issues and stuff, especially for them. It was a boon for America because we got cheap products and everything and a lot of other stuff, but and China obviously greatly benefited from it. But with all the political wrangling and all that stuff, the Chinese companies in foreign stock markets have lost between 10 and 52% each, big companies, because of the shaky markets and economy in China. There'll be a wave of passive selling, which isn't going to be a rush to the exit, but companies are slowly divesting all their stuff out of China, and nobody wants to invest in China anymore because they want to.
$1 trillion they've lost. I've read almost close to $1 trillion that they've lost within with this year alone.
Yeah,
that's an insane amount.
And people say their economy is going to collapse, and they have this whole real estate bubble thing and all that, but their economy is a new kind of economy, and we have no idea really what's going on in there, and they've got a lot of levers to pull. They've got a lot of power over the economy, power over the people. They control all the information. At some point, if the bank account are just dry and it's just too fucked up, it might just come crashing down, but realistically, they've got a lot of ways to deal with this stuff. They've cut interest rates, and they raised the reserve requirement of banks, what they have to hold versus loans that they loan out. It's just a fucked up economy that they've been fiddling with for so long, and I don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, we were talking about this Gordon Chang guy. He's this Chinese analyst that's always on Fox News, conservative, and his whole thing is that China's totally about to collapse. He's all in on China collapsing. Gordon Chang. He's on Fox News a lot. He was in the article we read too, and he's on Fox News a lot. His whole thing is China's going to collapse. A lot of people want to hear that because it makes them feel better. Oh, America back on top. It makes you feel that. And he has some good arguments, but realistically, it hasn't happened. He's been predicting it for a while. We don't really see exactly how it's going to happen. It might happen, but we might collapse too. Anything could fucking happen, I guess. But in the media, they want some guys like him, and they want to put this out there because if people hear that that's happening, they want to find out how it's going to happen so they can find out if it's real. Because the Chinese economy collapse, not only would their political structure and our main adversary collapse, but it would have ripple effects across the entire world. It would probably put us in a recession. It would be an economic nuclear winter, basically, depending on how bad it was. But everybody wants to know about it, and it makes them, they're kind of rooting against, China's put themselves against the United States. Now it's if China wins, the United States loses, and if the United States wins, then China loses. We can't win together anymore, apparently. So it makes people feel good. So it's just feeding the red meat.
I was trying to dig up some of my own data on this and see exactly how this whole thing started for China, because this is news to me that I read within the last week or so about them losing nearly $1 trillion since 2023. And for the most part, the only thing that I can really come up with is their property market is what's really sinking them right now. And then again, with major businesses are losing money. I think Alibaba lost 40 to 50% in its market share, which again is news to me because I know people who shop at Alibaba. That's their eBay/Amazon thing that they use a lot. So the people that I know that still use that are still using it, essentially. So for me, it's kind of a surprise. I'm trying to find out exactly what led to this, apart from property values going down for them or property market mayhem, as they put it. And again, with other businesses not doing as well.
What do you think about the prediction that they're going to collapse?
Based on that, I think it's very interesting, and I think it's very possible. And as you said, if we're talking about the same guy, I think his name was Peter Zahan, unless this Fox guy is somebody else. He's an individual that I've been following for a couple of years now, and he's a geopolitical author. The guy seems knowledgeable in what he's talking about. His forte isn't just China, it's that region in general. So he talks a lot about the same potential decline in Russia. But as far as what he says with China is concerned to it, it's interesting because it is based on empirical data and trends that have been happening with China within the last couple of years that are leading up to things now. So for an example, the last time I saw him preaching this, it was in the beginning of January. So January 2023 was one of the last things that I saw him specifically talk about China and its potential collapse. And it has everything to do with the population gap that they have right now. So one of the things that he's talking about is the people that are in power in China right now, the age difference is so great that eventually when this generation does come into power, their beliefs and what they believe in are so different from what the people are in power right now believe in, that that's going to create a crisis in how they run their country. And he did predict that their market was going to start having a major fall and a collapse. And here we are talking about that now. He was talking about this in January based on certain empirical evidence, that as well as market trends. What I should have done is I should have paid more attention to that article or that podcast so that I could start tracking that from January, because right now we're seeing the result. We're seeing the result. Almost $1 trillion just gone since January January of 2023, and we still have, a week left in November and in December. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the final number will be. There is data to support what he's talking about, and we're kind of seeing the results of that right now. So there's going to be a China, but it's going to be different. They're going to go through a major transformation, a major metamorphosis, that the end result will be nothing like the China that we know it today.
Essentially, yeah.
And some of these things that he was predicting is already starting to happen, right? Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Some of the ways that they can fix this is to try to make more loans, right? To give out more loans, the lower interest rates, which I think you said they already started to do.
Yeah, but they're short on cash. They don't have unlimited cash.
They don't. But at the same time, they do have certain resources that they can capitalize on, right? What a lot of people don't realize, I mean, I read an article a couple of months ago about swaths of land that China's buying up in the Amazons, for an example, to start building out everything from solar wind farms to building sites to further their AI technology, things like that. And they're not just doing that in South America. They're doing that a lot in Africa. I mean, they lead in cobalt mining right now for lithium-ion batteries. They're not out of the race yet, but at the same time, this $1 trillion does put a major dent, or I should say this $1 trillion loss is proof of what people like Zahan are saying, that we might be seeing the inevitable end of China, or at least China the way that we know it now.
It's a economic metamorphosis that is a response to a political metamorphosis. I mean, the only reason these people are selling these Chinese stocks is because Xi Jinping is acting like a fucking asshole. You know, he removed Hu Jintao. He might have killed Li Keqiang. I don't know. The guy just died or whatever. You know, he's been consolidating. He fired all these officers, and he made that big stink about Nancy Pelosi coming in. They're doing all this like provocative stuff in the ocean with their planes, harassing all our shit. So yeah, I mean, these American investors are not going to invest in this country that doesn't have really free system when you're like buzzing our warships and you're doing all this shit that makes us be like, these people are fucking crazy. You know?
No, I agree. And you know what? And Zahan said one of these things too. If the U.S. would have put the same kind of sanctions on China that they put on Russia, then he believes that the collapse of modern day China would have happened already.
It will put us in a recession too.
That is true. And that's part of the reason why, because we're so dependent on them for the time being. I mean, yeah.
It would create a world economic crisis. If we put sanctions on China, it would create a world economic crisis. Everything would be fucked up. The grocery stores wouldn't be stocked right. Walmart wouldn't have shit. I mean, it'd be all fucked up. Prices all over the place, especially in Asia, it's gonna be all fucked up.
Yeah, I know. I hate the fact that we depend on them for a lot of our stuff, especially like things like microchips and processors and things like that. I mean, why did we even stop making that here? Well, I know why. Cheaper labor in China and shit, but I mean, like, that's exactly what you're talking about now. We couldn't put them in sanctions because of the dependency that we have on them.
The government failed, and then all the companies sold us out. That's why all the chips are made in Taiwan. That's our previous generation. That's what they did for us. That's what they handed off. Yeah. We got to clean it up, and we've got this old guy to do it, and it's not going well.
Not at all.
Another thing not going well is military recruiting, and because they are not being able to recruit, they are trying to get back the military veterans that they kicked out because they didn't want to take the vaccine for whatever their personal reasons are. Yeah. And the Army and Air Force have sent letters to personnel that were fired out of the military that they can change their discharge code. I don't know why they have anything other than a regular honorable discharge code, and that they can get back in. There's apparently 8,000 soldiers that were put out under the vaccine mandate, and then they sent out 1,900 letters. And it's not really because they're sorry or anything. It's for two reasons. One is because Congress put in this bill that they would rescind the military vaccine mandate by law, and Joe Biden had to sign that. And Joe Biden wanted to take it away anyway, too. So they just did that. Congress essentially did that. So they have to do this. And they have the poor recruitment. So they need as many people as they got to scrounge them from like wherever, because the kids aren't signing up.
Yeah. They're like, 25% below their strategic, or I should say their goal for what they wanted. I think I read that they're 15,000 soldiers short of their recruitment goals for this year. And
last year was 15. The year before that was like 12, 15.
So it's only going up, man. It's only getting higher and higher.
What's the measure, I mean, it's like some arbitrary goal that they set that they thought they needed. They're shutting down like special forces units and shit. They can't get people to do this stuff.
Yeah, it's a different generation now than, a generation that feels, I guess I should say, disenfranchised with the way things are going now.
Rightly. They've done a bad job. Why would you join this organization like this?
I'm not saying I blame them, but I'm just saying I get it. For an example, I have a daughter who's 21, and talking to some of her friends, none of them, not a one, have any interest in that kind of lifestyle at all. I mean, even patriotism, that the level that we have that made us want to do the things that we did to begin with, like, it's night and day. It's night and day between this generation and ours, or even two generations.
Go ask a 21-year-old if they ever ever think about joining the military.
Nope.
Do a little reality check on yourself. All you military officers, take off your fucking military uniform, go down to the mall, walk into any fucking store, walk up to any fast food place, find the kid with the shittiest job you can find, gas station, whatever you can find, and walk up to him and be like, you ever think about joining the military? And they will laugh in your fucking face.
Yeah.
That's the reality check y'all need, honestly. Now, these vaccine personnel were basically betrayed and put out by the military. They agreed to put their lives on the line. They agreed to go through the PCS moves, the deployments. We all got poisoned by toxic environments, could have been killed. We lost relationships. Our families suffered. Some of us died. We got cemeteries we got to visit forever now. We did that, and they put us out because they want to push this vaccine thing on these young guys and women and stuff like that. With this, they rescinded this and they're putting it back, but there's no apology, no acknowledgement that the vaccine mandate was unlawful, no back pay, no time and service credit, no apology.
Yeah.
What kind of leadership is that? Where's the responsibility taken? Where's the accountability taken? None, because the people who made that decision retired, homies. They're gone. They're kicking it in Florida. They're in flip-flops. They don't give a fuck. They did the vaccine. Boop. And now the new ones are like, oh, well, they rotated out. Like, we're just doing this. Like, we don't have to apologize. We didn't do it. It's like, are you deaf, dumb, and blind? The country doesn't trust you. The young people don't trust you. And you talk about the kids not wanting to join the military. Talk to their parents. Find me one fucking parent out there that wants their kid to join the military that isn't like a military family. Do that reality check for yourself, especially out in California or up in the Northeast or some of these places. You go down to Texas, you go down to Florida, you're going to find some. Do a fucking reality check, honestly. This is a fucked up situation.
Yeah, I know. That's like you said, too. That's the thing that bothers me, too. I mean, these people were involuntarily asked to leave because of not wanting to take the vaccination. But again, like you said, there's no back pay, there's no time served, there's just these letters. And again, no apology even either. So, I mean, it's almost like, what's the incentive, right? At this point,
should sue them, honestly,
for these letters to go. Yeah, I know. I'd be livid. I would be pissed.
And honestly, I wasn't in the military. Obviously, we weren't at this time. But imagine how much pressure was put on these young to take this untested ass vaccine or whatever. I know that a lot of people had to take it, and like some people are going to get COVID. And honestly, the vaccine, y'all acted like it was 100%. I mean, it wasn't. We know that.
No,
obviously,
not
we've
at
all
all.
taken it. People have still gotten COVID.
You
put these people out of the military because they didn't want to take that shot or at that time or whatever.
Yeah. You know, it makes me think. I think about that myself, too, because it makes me think of MEPS. What if we were in now, and now it's part of your MEPS, right? That's how I'm assuming it is. You go checking through MEPS, you got to take all these shots. The only difference is now there's a COVID one. Me, personally, I don't know if I would have refused it. I think I would have just went along with it.
This isn't the same as when we went to MEPS, because all of those were the same shots that everybody had been getting for years. And yes, some of them were bad or they weren't needing that or whatever, but like they'd been around, they'd been tested. This COVID shot
for years and years and years, yeah.
This COVID shot was like new and experimental, and like there was no testing. Operation Light Speed or whatever the fuck, Warp Speed.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I agree.
I mean, I took it, obviously, and different people take it and stuff, or don't or whatever. But I mean, everyone at that time, if we all remember that time, everyone was like making that decision in their head. You know, these are military people. They shouldn't have been treated like this. You know, and it was a political thing. This is from all the way from the top. This is straight from the White House.
Yeah.
You know, just if they don't do it, kick them the fuck out. You remember how Joe was talking all tough back then?
Yeah, I do.
But then at the same time too, then you have people in the military. It's like they like the vaccine, like maybe some more liberal people, and then they're like they want everyone to have it because they don't want to get sick because like a sergeant or something didn't take the vaccine.
Right.
So I mean, there's other sides to it too. But I mean, it's like that in every workplace. I mean, all of America and everywhere had to go through this and figure out how we were going to do this and who was going to do it and who wasn't, and what's acceptable and what wasn't acceptable.
What do you think they're going to do to try to increase their enlistment numbers? I mean, they need a whole new campaign strategy on top of this stuff going on with vaccines and like just poor enlistment numbers. I've tried to think about what I do if I was in that situation to try to increase numbers again. And I don't know, because I'm kind of removed, again, I have a daughter who's 21, but there's a lot of that generation that I just don't understand.
Yeah, and the generals are even older than we are, and they totally don't understand. I do understand young people because I've been going to school and college for 10 fucking years, and I've been around millennials, and I've been in class. I hear them talk. We've had discussions. The teacher has discussions. They respond to the teacher. Like, I understand young people better than a lot of people my own age. And I'm telling you, this system is fucking broken, and it's not going to work for these kids. This system is not salvageable.
No, I totally agree. That's what I mean, too. I mean, you're talking about millennials. I mean, try talking to a Gen Z about what's important to them and see if patriotism, enlistment, or any of that comes into conversation. No, it's more on self-identity, right? He, she, they, them. That's important to them.
It's their generation. I mean, like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
words they use, whatever.
Who
What
gives a shit?
matters
I know.
is, are they going to defend the country when necessary? Because we're going to be too old to
That
do
doesn't
it
come
eventually.
into play for them. That doesn't
What?
even come into play. That's not even a thought process.
Well, we weren't thinking about it before 9/11, but something's going to happen. I mean, there's going to be some war, we'll get attacked, or there'll be something. And this generation will have to step up. This generation isn't going to be able to like skip. War is
No.
going to come to you. This country is going to be run by Gen Z someday once we're all too old. And war is going to come. And there's going to be crisis and stuff like that. And people are going to have to step up. Not everyone's going to be able to be an influencer and stuff like that. Some people are going to have to do this service. But I think that will change. And I do believe in Gen Z. I think that they have a lot of potential. And yeah, they're different than us and they're more sensitive. But whatever. I mean, they're talented.
No, I'm not saying that they are.
Maturity that we didn't have.
I'm not saying that they aren't, and I totally agree. Yeah, they do have a certain. That's a perfect example. They do have a certain maturity that I certainly didn't have at that age. It's just like you said, the system's broken. I can't think of a way that I would personally, how I would change their system to up the numbers in recruitment. Right?
I think about it every day. I just don't want to help them because I want to see them fail. I want them to get rid of themselves. Retire yourselves. And then we'll fix it.
Yeah.
Sorry about Gaza a little bit. I've got some interesting news out of there. There's the whole hostage thing, but everybody's been talking about that, and there's not that much interesting on that. I like looking at these military failures and stuff like that. These military events hinge on these failures and these bad mistakes, poor training, bad decisions, bad process, bad defenses, whatever. IDF lookouts warned commanders before October 7th. They were ignored.
Yeah.
Stop bothering us. They were threatened. One of them even threatened this young person on court-martial. Some of these lookouts were women. I believe in women. I know you do too. Like, women are taking over and they're a part of everything, and they're providing this valuable services and part membership in these teams, these military teams, these intel teams. And these young women are calling up being like, "Hey boss, blah, 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 blah." And they're like, "I'm going to court-martial you." Like, what the
Yes.
fuck?
Stop
That
talking
guy
to me
should
about
fucking
it.
off himself. Like,
That is
seriously,
crazy.
after the terrorist
Yeah.
attack, literally just, if you didn't die in the terrorist attack, like, just finish yourself off, dude. Like, you don't need to be around.
They weren't seeing the threat as a real threat. When the lookouts were telling them, I'm seeing men around the border, their whole mentality behind leave us alone with this or we're going to court-martial you is because they never saw Hamas as a real threat. I mean, I saw them being quoted as just a bunch of punks who won't do anything.
Okay,
And now look.
one lookout informed senior commander, "I don't want to hear again about this nonsense." They don't want to hear about the nonsense. The officer can't go out there. You can't get in your little Jeep and drive out and like look at with your own eyeballs or whatever at what the young person's looking at. It says, "A day before everything happened, I saw people with maps. They were looking at the fence and pointing at it. I told everyone, listen, something is going to happen. I see them planning things. I noticed that something was different on the front. I even told the person next to me in jest, listen, they're going to storm our post. It just looks different."
Yeah.
They say they reported seeing them doing drills where they were laying down and practicing shooting and throwing grenades. In the end, that's what happened to me. They shot at me. They threw grenades at me. And the subtext here is my officers didn't listen to me. And this IDF military, there's no difference between what's happening there and what's happening in the United States military, except on a much different level. We have much parallels with them. They have differences. We have differences. But like, this shit is the same thing happening in our military. This is how we get hacked. This is how Vanessa Guillen and all this stuff happens, because these people aren't fucking working with their ears open and their eyes open.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know. I don't really have too much to say on that. I was kind of shocked by the whole thing with the forward observers, like you said, the lookouts, excuse me.
Outrageous. Is outrageous.
I mean, to threaten with court-martial too, and again, and look at the aftermath of that, because it was all ignored and nobody wanted to hear about it because Hamas is just a bunch of punks and capable of actually. I mean, that alone. I mean, look how long Hamas has been an issue in that area. I don't know. I feel like every decade or so they give Israel a reminder that they're still there with increasing intensity each time they do it. That
that's terrorism.
Like you said, it's appalling. It's the fact that you were warned. You were warned by your own lookouts. He did nothing, and now the state of affairs there is atrocious. Well, it's
and
just
the
getting worse.
consequences, man.
Exactly.
One or two guys get through, and it's like something happens.
That's one thing, but now
the consequences of this were unthinkable. He called it nonsense, and this is a man, and he's probably talking to a young woman. These are like probably young women. They call them lookouts, but these are young women, some of them at least, that are being ignored on this, and they're trying to do their job. Why even join the motherfucking military when your officer is going to court-martial you and call your honest reports from the front nonsense? Why even join the military? You want to know why they join the military? Because they have to. One, because of conscription, and two, because regardless of the officers, they have to defend their country. We don't have that here. The kids are
No, we
out
don't.
because they know here that they're going to do the exact same thing. Get the fuck out of here, kid, and now listen.
Yeah, no, I know. It's so shocking that I'm almost speechless. Again, because we've seen the results of the inaction of that, right? Your lookout tells you what's going on more than several occasions, and different lookouts too. I mean, we're not even just talking about one lookout, and then to not act on that and to see the outcome and where we're at now with that, with the whole Gaza-Israel thing. I mean, who's to say that a lot of that couldn't have been prevented? I mean, I think Hamas would have still eventually ended up doing multiple different kinds of strikes, but I don't know. The outcome of where we're at now, or where they're at now with the whole thing, could have been avoided to a certain degree, or at least curbed, I think. I think what's happening now would have happened anyway. I think that's inevitable, but maybe not to the degree of where it's at today.
All right. We've got another topic here, which is the U.S. Army has it's called a direct commission program. It's for military officers. And traditionally, this has been for like medical professionals, chaplains, lawyers, people that need to come in at a higher level than a lieutenant. Basically, if you start as an officer in the military, you're going in as a lieutenant otherwise, or you're enlisted. And both of us were enlisted, but they have these direct commissions. And so in 19 and 20, Congress gave new authorities to where they have, and they've always had some of this for cybersecurity, but they've expanded that to other aspects of technology. And they're using these authorities to direct commission people to work on technology in the government, software developers, cybersecurity, data engineers, stuff like that, because these people need to get paid more. Now, even with the direct commission, they still don't get paid anywhere near what they would get paid out there as civilians, but that's what they want to do, and they're in the military, so they're recruiting it. The direct appointments are the crown jewel of recent Army talent management reform efforts, because we're losing talent all over the place. I mean, we're just totally ass backwards on how we deal with talent, and they collectively dub it the war for talent by now retired General James McConville. That's what happens. These guys just like put some bullshit out there. Obviously, some consultant gave them some slides on war for talent. He signs a couple policy papers, and then he's out the door to go cash in at some defense contractor. And now this new guy's like, wow, this sucks, and we don't have anything, and it's not working or whatever, because they're just like rotating in and just like fumbling around a little bit. They dick around, and then they're gone. This is a total failure. They're calling it a total disaster, total failure in the war for talent. Did you know about the direct commissions? What do you think about it?
No, I did not. No, I knew nothing of that prior to this.
They had 13 total in 2020, 32 in 2021. They are trending up, but I mean, in World War II, they did 100,000 of these in order to fill out.
100,004. Yeah. I didn't look at the difference.
The reason why is because they don't want a lot of these people in there. Like, they don't want these civilians in there, these hotshot civilians in there making everyone look like shit. These people that had to work their way up in the government all the way, they don't want someone coming in sideways, like where they're at, like fresh off, off the civilian or whatever. It's just a power game, and they have to have this because they like have to do it. I mean, they need to do it for the chaplains, but nobody cares about chaplains and lawyers and doctors and dentists and shit. Who fucking cares? You know what I mean? They don't have any power anyway. I mean, they just get paid a little bit more, and they do their regular civilian job basically with a little military version of it.
Exactly.
These regular bureaucrats and military, they don't want civilians up in there because the civilians outperform them. They got more up-to-date skills. They've been in a civilian workplace, and they are just smoother in a lot of ways, honestly. And the culture is just different. So yeah, they restrict it, and they don't really push it. They say it takes around 46 steps in order for a person to go from civilian to direct commission, when we need these people like fucking yesterday.
Yeah.
No. 46 steps. They've got a whole flow chart and everything. They're like, oh, it's so serious. Like, get your shit together. Get the talent in the organization. Like, your organization is the U.S. Army. It is lacking in the talent that it needs to do its mission. If you don't do what you need to get the talent in, you're a failure. General James McConville, failure. You're a fucking failure. And whoever's coming in, these people under them, all the people that co-sign this shit, because what happens is General McConville comes in, he's like, this was our plan. And no one can say anything to him. But he's going to be retired in 18 months anyway. Like, this plan sucks. That's what happened to me at the Jake. I was like, yo, your plan sucks. And, we need something different. Obviously, they're not going to change because they don't want to respond to something like that. But like, what am I supposed to do? Give a golf clap or something? Like, well, this won't work. Or like a seal. Like, just like flap my flippers out in front of you? Fuck you guys. You need to be defending the country. You need to deliver this tech. The whole country is depending on you. You're the ones wearing the fucking uniforms. Figure this shit the fuck out. No excuses. It's a joke. We're totally failing.
It is. I agree. Yeah.
You signed up 13 in 2020? The whole government shut down during the pandemic. Everybody just tapped out. You guys don't have to go to formation in the morning. All of a sudden, this one star down at Fort Hood with Vanessa Guillen, they couldn't find this woman for a month.
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy.
Vanessa's family's out there looking for him. They can't find this one star. Was she fucking in Aruba or something? Does she even have her uniform with her? Like, what is she doing? This is that same time. And then, so they're obviously not recruiting. They're not advertising this. You know, I knew a little bit about this. I didn't know all the details about some of the roles, but we just talked about, you're an Army veteran. You didn't know about this. I mean, we don't know about it. You can't just like do something and not tell anyone about it. How is that going to be successful, General McConville? What was your marketing plan for your direct commissioning crown jewel? Was that in your op report PowerPoint general bullshit? No,
of course it wasn't. I mean, look at the results. Yeah.
What do you think about direct commissions? I mean, we're in technology, so I mean, we probably agree that need some more of this stuff. Need more technology people, need more business people.
Oh, definitely, especially with the way our present day or AKA future is shaping to be. I mean, like you have autonomous drones being a big issue. You have cybersecurity being a big issue. My opinion as an IT professional is yes.
Yeah.
Yes to more of that. We need it.
Okay, our last article is about Taiwan invasion, where Xi Jinping, Chinese president, is supposed to have, we're estimating that he's going to have the capability to actually invade Taiwan in 27, which probably will cause an all-out war of other countries popping off in different directions in Asia there. And obviously we would be probably sucked into it one way or another.
Oh,
and it's going to
sure.
affect us. Even if we manage to not get sucked into it, it's still going to affect us. What do you think about Taiwan invasion and all that whole issue?
I need to see more empirical data that there's a potential for this to happen in those years, 2026 to 2028, with the magic number being 2027. I think that shift on the idea of a possible invasion will shift to not invading, and especially if we are going to see a major change in China as we know it by 2030. I'm not saying dismiss it. I'm saying definitely prep for it, right? If you want peace, prepare for war. I'm just saying we shouldn't put all our eggs in that basket, but at the same time, we shouldn't ignore the issue, right? We should prepare for something potentially happening in that direction, but I don't know. I think maybe move to 2024, 2025 to see politically, economically where China is at that time to kind of see whether or not that's still a possibility for a 2028 attack on Taiwan.
What's an estimated capability? You know, this man has consolidated his political power and he's been changing the foreign policy of China. He's had the Belt and Road, a lot of this other stuff. But what he's been doing more recently, I mean, he realized they basically don't have a military that can effectively invade Taiwan, especially if we get involved. And so over these last years, he's been building a new version of the Chinese military that is custom designed to invade Taiwan. Like, that's the only thing that the Chinese military is designed to do right now is invade Taiwan. That's all they have to do. We have to do all this other stuff all over the world. They just focus on this. That's why they build their ships, how they build their planes. He's obsessed with it because he sees it as his legacy, legitimacy point. Whereas people in China, I think, yeah, I mean, there are probably some nationalists that would really want to finish the Civil War, take over Taiwan, show them what's up, reunify all of this like Chinese land that they see. I could see that. And having Taiwan would make China much more powerful because if you're ever going to invade China, they always go through Taiwan first.
Right.
But, you know, these military officers in China and the military in general, like, they're not so hot on Taiwan because the Chinese military's never won a war except against other Chinese people. And they never have successfully or even tried to really go outside of their land, especially navally, air. Now we've got space involved and all these other facets, and against someone who's backed up by the most powerful country in the world, the United States. So the military's not really hot on it. They want to be the military, do their military thing, but really they're corrupt and they just want to like steal some money and not have to fight, not get killed, not have to have their bluff called. And so that's why he's been firing these military officers, because these military officers, one, have been like stealing the money, which is slowing down his plans. And two, because they genuinely, probably rightly, believe that Taiwan is a hard target and that they don't think it's a good idea. So he get rid of them, bring in some guys that are, you know, ready to go.
At the same time, too, I mean, Biden was just over there and he still solidified his support for Taiwan. And I guess it was Taipei that expressed sincere gratitude to Biden for affirming that the U.S. government will help in the security of Taiwan. So
status quo. Whatever.
Status quo, right? I know, right? And Uncle Joe over there, and then right after talking to him, called him a dictator, and then he met over there, and he's like, "Do you still think he's a dictator?" Well, yeah, but anyway,
he's not really a dictator. It's a bureaucrat government. He's like an all-powerful bureaucrat. A dictator
Sure.
is like basically there's no government and it's just
No,
like,
I get that. Yeah, yeah. That was the verbiage that was used.
he's living in an old time. Joe Biden is not living in the same world that we're living.
No. I know.
Everyone, unless they've got primary election and free and fair, it's a dictator. Everyone's a dictator. You know what I mean? It's like this default, you're not Western American values. Dictator, you know?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what China's response will be because from my understanding, China and United States do have an understanding about how to deal with Taiwan, and the United States have told China that they won't get involved, but then America has told Taiwan that they will help in security measures of preventing a takeover of Taiwan from China.
The implication, since before we were born, is that we would get involved.
Exactly.
Now she's challenging that. It's calling our bluff, being like, you guys are really going to come over here. I got 1,000 hypersonic missiles ready to fucking go. I got all these Chinese boys. I got I've consolidated my political power. You're going to come over to Asia with your precious young people and your precious boats and risk it all being humiliated in my backyard. Go ahead. Over their land, they see it as their land. It's not like they're invading Australia or something. Like,
no, exactly. No. Yeah. No,
we're
I
not
know.
going to do it. We're going to back down or something. I mean, it's insane. How are we going to get soldiers and everything over there to fight China? How many soldiers are we going to get over there? Say we send an army of 50,000 into China. I mean, you couldn't even hold one Chinese city with that. I mean, it's like 20 million people. I mean, I was in Hong Kong and the police in Hong Kong had 50,000 police, Hong Kong police force. They weren't in control of anything in the entire city. They were shut in their police barracks, getting fucking rocks thrown in and stuff like that. And they would shoot tear gas out and the kids would throw the tear gas back in the police station. I mean, like, you know, Hong Kong only had 7 million people in it.
Wow.
I mean, some of these Chinese cities, I mean, you wouldn't even make it. You wouldn't even get off the fucking beach with 50,000 people. And half of them be dead. Plus the hypersonic missiles. How are you going to get? Are you going to like teleporter them there or something? I mean, and logistics? How are you going to maintain that logistics?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I can think of is I know for a fact that we're sending surplus military weapons to the Ukraine to aid in their war against Russia. And since that has happened, if you take a look at the military budget and the amount of money that we've been spending on contracts with Lockheed Martin, Northrop, General Dynamics, these contracts have been awarded this year and earlier this year. So if this thing happens in 2027, 28, there are potentials for new equipment, new military warfare to be able to deploy in areas like that. But of course, at the same time, that might be too short of a period of time to actually have them be tested, you know? But I know we're ramping up our weapons right now. With us giving a lot of our surplus to the Ukraine, budget spending has gone up, and they are having a lot of contracts with these weapons manufacturers to basically bring us up to the 21st century, along with to replenish everything that we're basically giving to the Ukraine. Logistically speaking, that's a huge task to take on. And not only that, but again, like you said, with the numbers of loan, but who knows what these new weapons that are being developed could potentially do in our future. It's not out of the question, but right now it's definitely an uphill battle.
Yeah, definitely. Probably won't happen anytime soon, but cool to
No.
analyze.
Yeah. Another thing to keep on the radar, right?
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully it's not World War III out there. All right, well, that's the last article, and we had a good time. Thank you, Andre, for participating and sharing all your opinions and being so cool and interesting.
Well, thank you for having me. I've been
Many
looking
compliments
forward to
upon you, my friend.
Well, like I said, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this. We had some technical difficulties a couple of weeks ago, but I'm glad that we finally got the chance to speak on these topics.
Yeah, awesome. So hope to have you back soon. We'll start the 4-person show at some point. We'll have more slots and get people rolling through and have bigger, more substantive discussions. And I'll be standing up and we'll get back to normal sometime soon. But I hope you guys, everybody had a good Thanksgiving and see you next week. Goodbye.
All right. Thank you again. Goodbye.